Hello folks, I hope you're having a great day today. Today I want to take a look at E.R. Eddison's classic work in fantasy called The Worm Ouroboros. I was flying out and doing some traveling last week, so I knocked it out while I was in the plane and in the airport. It's more than 500 pages long as a novel, which is big for an older novel like these. These older novels tend to be much smaller in length. They tend to be like maybe 120, 130, 150 pages, something like that. So if you go look at a lot of the novels from this era, they're not a more modern traditional one, but this is 500 pages long. The good thing about that is that you'll have some time to knock it out, get it taken care of, that sort of thing. But I want to take a look at this 1926 novel. Now, this novel is considered by many to be one of the absolute classics in the genre. It's one of the defining works of the genre. It does a lot of things in fantasy for the first time. When Tolkien's work came out later on, it was compared to E.R. Eddison's because they were both trying to do a very similar thing. And from a very real sense, it's the first epic story, the first major epic sweeping fantasy story in the genre. So I want to take a look at it for you today. I will do a review for you, and then we'll do a synopsis after. I'll start off with the synopsis, do a couple of chapters in, then I'll do a review for you afterwards. Now, oftentimes in my synopses of novels or even short stories, I might go about halfway into the story in order to get you kind of familiarized with the world. I'm not going to do that this time, though. This time I'm only going to go through the first two chapters, and then I'll leave it to you for the rest. But let me get you kind of started with where we are. You're going to be introduced in a scene to the sort of the throne of Demonland, and you're going to meet four archdukes that kind of run Demonland together. And those four people are going to be our protagonists for the story as we follow the arc along. You're going to find out that they recently won a big giant conflict against some ghouls, but in doing so they lost a lot of their ships. And one of their erstwhile ally friends that's over in Witchland had gone with them to go fight the ghouls, but then their ships all fled right before combat began, and thus the losses of Demonland's forces and their navy were greater than they had expected, and so they're much weaker now than they were previously. What's going to happen in the first chapter is that a missive is going to arrive from Witchland and the king thereof, and he's going to demand that they turn over their sovereignty to him and pledge their allegiance and fidelity to him, or else he'll invade and force them to do it by the edge of the sword. And knowing that they would not be able to survive a long battle against Witchland, they are, because of how bad they are and how obviously well-timed this is, they instead offer an alternative, which is they'll do a wrestling contest with their king, who has won 99 wrestling contests already. This would be his 100th victory, and so the Witchland king definitely thinks he can do it. But their offer is very simple: if we do the wrestling contest, and if we Demonland wins, then we get our freedom, and you can't invade us or attack us again. And otherwise, if we win, then we will swear our fidelity to you. I'm sorry, if you lose. If we lose you and you win, then we will swear our fidelity to you. So that's kind of the contest. And the second chapter is going to tell the story of the contest. It's going to be set in the nearby lands of Witchland, but in the territory of somebody who still has some morals, some scruples, and is known in Demonland as being fair and balanced. And he's going to be the judge of the match, and it's going to be in his lands over in Witchland. The battle will, the wrestling match battle will happen, at the conclusion of which the king of Witchland will die in the ring fairly, and as a result, Witchland will leave with their tail between their legs. They're not going to fight anything else. They're not going to test the results. Obviously, obviously Demonland won. It wasn't a biased decision or anything like that. So Witchland will leave and head back home. And that's kind of the conclusion of the second chapter. Now, obviously, that gets you like maybe 40 pages into the story, and this isn't like a long, short story. So there's going to be a lot more to follow, obviously, to get to 500 pages. But that gives you kind of an idea of what's happening so far. So I'm going to end my synopsis there and move on to my review. Now, one of the things that E.R. Eddison does with the language of this piece is he really embeds it with a sense of style, particularly of kind of a King James English. I think the reason he does that is to give it, is to increase its mythological feels. It has this sort of a legendary mythological feel to it that goes beyond the genre. And in fact, if you were to force me to choose either myth or fantasy, I would choose myth as its a genre over fantasy. Although it's not the only one to do that. But I think that by using the sort of older style of grammar, one of the things that E.R. Eddison is trying to do is he's trying to get you to see this as a work that's deeper and greater and stronger. And it's trying to tap into those sorts of veins of a Shakespearean play or something like that, rather than just a modern story. And I think that's what he's trying to do. And I think he does so very well. It took once I got started. Once I got into it, it took me about a chapter and a half to get used to his prose before I was then kind of in his world. And it's also something similar to what one of his peers, Lord Dunsany, was doing. If you go and read The King of Elfland's Daughter or The Gods of Pagana and some of the other works by Lord Dunsany, you'll also see that he's also using Old English too, in order to give King James English, in order to give the story more of a heft and that sort of a thing. If you enjoy the world building of Tolkien's worlds, then you're going to love the world building that E.R. Eddison does, too. For example, if you liked all the plays, all the quotations, those sorts of things that were in Lord of the Rings, you'll see that they may have been pulled out somewhat from here. I'm going to pull open, this is page 49, it's in the 3rd chapter. But do you see here how E.R. Eddison has put these little like sonnets and songs and that sort of thing in here? And he'll do that regularly throughout the entire work. And so, for example, what he wrote here is the following word, that a song that somebody's working on. This is in chapter 3. It was so pity, one so witty, malcontent, leaving reason should to treason be so bent. But his gifts were his shifts void of grace, and his bravery was but knavery, vile and base. So you can kind of see there is that sort of build-up, and there's a lot of that world building that happens in the storyline. So again, if you're a fan of that in Tolkien, you'll also be a fan of this too. Tolkien's works were immediately compared to E.R. Eddison upon his release, because he's probably the first person to do a lot of the things that Tolkien does very successfully in his world building aspects. One of the things I get a feel from E.R. Eddison is that as the story progresses, there are more and more lands that you will meet, and he doesn't like talk about them early, and there's not a map that comes with the storyline, so you don't get to see like how many different lands there are. And initially you'll be like, okay, Demonland and Witchland, all right, that's fine. And then pretty soon you're going to see there's like a lot of other lands too. You're going to meet Goblin Land, and goblins are of course allied with demons and are good guys. And then you're going to find out that there's like Imp Land and Fairyland, and there's a lot of these different lands that are out there, and they're going to go to a number of them. Or meet people that are from them and will be involved with the story. So you're going to come across this increasing number of lands that are here in our world. I also really enjoy the mythological feel and how he calls out to a number of legends and legendary creatures that are in this story. You have a number of bad guy, nobody would think demons are good. Nobody's thinking imps are good, right? And those sorts of things, that goblins are good, that sort of thing. But having this world where you have demons that are your main protagonists in Demonland, and they're acting lawful good. They are good. Core, they do good things for others. They will sacrifice themselves for others. They're not your normal demons. Same is true of goblins and some of the other ones that you'll run into. The witches in Witchland tend to be evil, but there are some exceptions within them, like the one that you're fighting at in the 2nd chapter. You're fighting at his place because he still has some pangs of conscience. So you'll come across those in various levels in different lands and different types of people. But I like that you have a number of races and people and creatures out there that make this place feel more fleshed out. There's not a human anywhere to find, which I like and I enjoy. But I do feel that because he keeps adding lands into the story, I feel like he didn't outline the story ahead of time and then let us know. I feel like he just kind of wrote it organically, and then that's the story, which makes it feel real like reading a Philip K. Dick novel, because that's what he would do. He would just sit down at a typewriter, just type up the story, and then finish it and then send it out, and he wouldn't go back, edit it. And so his stories can have this kinetic, energetic feel to them that feels organic. You're finding out about the story at the same time the author is, but it also introduces self-consistencies. Like, for example, in one of the novels Philip K. Dick wrote about time travel, he has one of the ways of time travel, a trick to solve the story that earlier on in the novel he said wasn't possible of time travel when he introduced the concept of time travel in his story. So he has a contradiction in the story as a result. So that's kind of Philip K. Dick's way of doing this. E.R. Eddison doesn't have that sort of contradictory style into it. He probably did at least one more edit, but it does feel like he kind of just sat down and wrote it, and then kind of so if it has that sort of an energetic, kinetic feel to it that you may not normally have in this sort of a swooping epic that's outlined, where you know everything's going to happen, everything that it goes, and regularly your chapters and your stuff that happens are beats into getting you to the final place, whereas in this they don't have that sort of a same feel to them. So the book feels a little differently to me than a traditional sort of an epic fantasy would feel. It also has, like I said earlier, a lot of mythological creatures that are in it too, that you'll run across. So if you have a good knowledge of mythological creatures, you'll be fine. You'll be okay, and I'm sure you'll really enjoy this work a lot. So there's the Worm Ouroboros for you. I'll leave you to it. Have you read it? I'll also link you to it in the comments below. My copy is published by Ballantine as a republication in the 60s, but I'll link you to it. I'm not sure if it's on. It was published in the 20s. It might be free now. I'll take a look and see. If it is, I'll link you to it in the comments below, and if not, I will just link you to the novel so you can buy it and read it somewhere like Amazon. So have you read it? If not, I recommend it. What did you think about it? Did you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts or comments here? I'm happy to engage you with them more. And hey, if you like this, you might as well hit that subscribe button. There's going to be so many more of these reviews to follow of classics in fantasy, science fiction, and horror. And I just want to thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end, because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives. We're so busy. So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's very humbling, and I appreciate that. So thanks again, and have a good one.